second, before you scroll past this, before you skip ahead, I need you to sit with me for just a moment, because what I'm about to tell you took me years to understand. Years of making the wrong moves, thinking the wrong thoughts, following the wrong map. And the worst part? I didn't even know the map was wrong. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. Working hard, staying consistent, being positive, reading books, watching videos just like this one. And yet, nothing was changing. Not really. I was moving, but I wasn't going anywhere. Have you ever felt that? Like you're running on a treadmill that looks like a road, and everyone around you is cheering you on, but deep down, some quiet part of you knows something is off? That's where I was. And here's what scared me the most. The people around me couldn't see it. My family thought I was doing great. My friends thought I had it figured out. But I knew. Something wasn't clicking. And then, one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, sitting in my car in a parking lot, eating a sandwich, not doing anything special, it hit me. A single thought. Just one. And it cracked open everything I thought I knew about success, about mindset, about human potential, and rebuilt it from the ground up. What was that thought? I'll tell you. But first, I need to show you why most people never get there. Because understanding where the problem starts is the only way to understand why the solution works. So stay with me. This is going to be one of the most important hours of your life. Part 1. The invisible ceiling. Let me ask you something. If I told you right now that there's a ceiling above your head, invisible, undetectable, made of pure thought, would you believe me? Most people would say no. I don't have a ceiling. I'm open-minded. I'm growing. And I would smile. Because that's exactly what someone with an invisible ceiling would say. Here's what the invisible ceiling actually is. It's not laziness. It's not lack of information. It's not bad luck. It's not even fear, though fear plays a role. The invisible ceiling is your self-concept. It's the story you carry about who you are, what you're capable of, and, most critically, what you deserve. Psychologists have studied this for decades. And what they found is both simple and devastating. You cannot consistently outperform your self-concept. Read that again. You cannot consistently outperform your self-concept. Not for long. Not sustainably. Not in a way that actually sticks. You might have a great month. A great year. À Lucky Break. A moment of inspiration where you push past your limits and surprise yourself. But then, almost like gravity, you drift back. Back to the level your mind secretly believes is where you belong. That's the ceiling. And here's the terrifying thing. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their results while leaving their self-concept completely untouched. They hustle harder. They read more books. They watch more videos. They buy more courses. They set more goals. And they wonder why the results won't stick. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. The bucket isn't broken because you're not pouring fast enough. The bucket is broken because there's a hole in the bottom. And the hole is your identity. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying you're broken. I'm not saying there's something fundamentally wrong with you. What I am saying is this. The version of you that currently exists, the self-concept you carry around, was built a long time ago. By people who weren't you. By experiences that may no longer be relevant. By a world that told you who to be before you had the wisdom to decide for yourself. And here's what nobody tells you. You get to rebuild it. You get to take that old, inherited, unconsciously assembled self-concept and deliberately architect a new one. But most people never do. Because most people don't even know they have one. They think they are their self-concept. They think those thoughts, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good with money, I'm not the kind of person who. They think those are facts. They're not facts. They are programs. Old programs running on hardware that is capable of so much more. And today, we're going to start the uninstall process. Part 2. How the self-concept forms. To change something, you have to understand where it came from. So let me walk you through how your self-concept was built, because most of it happened before you were 7 years old. That's not a metaphor. That's neuroscience. Between the ages of 0 and 7, the human brain operates primarily in theta wave states, which is essentially the same as a hypnotic trance. Children in this state absorb everything around them without filtering. They don't analyze. They don't question. They don't apply critical thinking. They just absorb. Every word their parents say, every reaction their environment provides, every success and every failure. Every time they reached for something and got it, or reached for something and were told no. All of that gets downloaded directly into the subconscious mind as programming. And here's the brutal truth. Most of us grew up in environments that, despite the love and best intentions of the people around us, were not designed to build empowered self-concepts. Because the adults who raised us were also running their inherited programming. Your parents raised you based on their self-concept. Their parents raised them based on their self-concept. It's generational software, passed down, rarely examined, almost never intentionally upgraded. And so you learn things like, money is hard to make. People like us don't do things like that. You're too sensitive. Stop dreaming and be realistic. Who do you think you are? These weren't necessarily mean or malicious. They were often just the echoes of old beliefs being passed from one generation to the next. But those echoes became your inner voice. And now that inner voice runs in the background of every decision you make. Every opportunity you pursue or don't pursue. Every relationship you enter or stay stuck in. Every time you almost break through and then somehow find a way to sabotage yourself at the last second. That's not weakness. That's programming. And here's what makes it so insidious. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is true and what is familiar. It only cares about what is consistent. If you have a deep belief that success belongs to other people, that it's not for you, then when success starts to show up in your life, your subconscious will treat it like a foreign invader. It will manufacture anxiety. It will create self-doubt. It will make you do something consciously or unconsciously to push the success away. Not because you don't want success, but because your subconscious doesn't recognize it as safe. This is why the most important work you will ever do is not on your tactics. It's not on your schedule. It's not on your strategy. It's on your mind. Specifically, on the operating system that runs underneath everything you think, feel, say, and do. Part 3. The thought in the parking lot. Now I want to come back to that Tuesday afternoon. I want to tell you what happened, because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a lightning bolt moment. Nobody appeared in a vision and handed me a secret scroll. It was just a thought. A quiet, almost throwaway thought. I was sitting in my car, like I said. It had been a rough week. Nothing catastrophic, just the slow, grinding kind of rough that wears you down over time. I was thinking about all the things I was doing, all the effort, all the hours, and then, just kind of to myself, almost sarcastically, I thought, what if the problem isn't what I'm doing, but what I believe I'm allowed to have? And I almost dismissed it. Almost. But something stopped me. I sat with it. What I believe I'm allowed to have. I started to replay my life through that lens. And what I saw was shocking. Every time something good was about to happen, I found a way to complicate it. Every time I was close to a breakthrough, I introduced a crisis. Every time I was on the edge of a real win, I unconsciously picked a fight, or created a problem, or got distracted by something that didn't matter. And in every single one of those moments, if you'd asked me why I did what I did, I would have given you a logical explanation. The timing wasn't right. Something came up. I had to be realistic. But sitting in that car, seeing it all at once, I could see the pattern. I was the pattern. My subconscious had a ceiling installed. A firm, non-negotiable ceiling on what I was allowed to receive. On what was appropriate for someone like me to have. And every single time I approached that ceiling, it found a way to bring me back down. Not cruelly. Not even consciously. Just automatically. Like a thermostat. You know how a thermostat works? You set it to 70 degrees. The room gets too hot, the air conditioning kicks on. The room gets too cold, the heat kicks on. Either way, it returns to 70. Your self-concept is a thermostat. Whatever temperature you've got it set to, that's where your life will keep returning. You can have a great week and temporarily spike up to 90 degrees. But if your thermostat is set to 70, don't worry. Something will cool you back down. You can hit a rough patch and temporarily dip to 50. But if your thermostat is set to 70, don't worry. Something will warm you back up. The good news? You can change the setting. You can literally reset the thermostat. That's what this is about. Part 4. The 5 mental shifts. So how do you actually do it? How do you change a self-concept that was built over decades, reinforced by thousands of experiences, and is currently running every second in the background of your brain? It's a process, not a one-time event. But there are 5 specific mental shifts that form the foundation. And I want to walk you through all 5 in detail, because understanding is not enough. You need to internalize this. Let's go. Mental shift 1. From information to identity. Most people treat personal development as a collection of information. They gather tips, strategies, hacks, frameworks. They have notebooks full of insights. They can quote Stoic philosophers. They know the science of habit formation. They've watched thousands of hours of content about success, and then they wonder why their life looks the same. Here's the brutal truth. Information alone cannot change your life. Only identity change can. Let me explain the difference. Information lives in your conscious mind. It's accessible, logical, analytical. Identity lives in your subconscious mind. It's emotional, automatic, invisible. When your conscious mind tries to create change using only information, it's working uphill against the gravitational pull of your identity. You decide to wake up at 5 a.m. Your conscious mind is fully on board. 3 days later, your identity, which has defined you as someone who sleeps in for 30 years, wins. You decide to start saving money. Your conscious mind has a plan. 2 weeks later, you're back to your old spending patterns. Not because you're weak. Not because you don't want to change. Because your identity didn't change. So the first mental shift is this. Stop asking what do I need to know, and start asking who do I need to become. Every habit, every behavior, every result in your life flows from identity. When you shift your identity first, the behaviors follow naturally. You don't force yourself to go to the gym because disciplined people go to the gym. You go to the gym because you are a disciplined person. That's who you are now. It would feel wrong not to go. See the difference? One is willpower. The other is identity. And identity always wins. So your first task is to start defining, with specificity and intention, who you are becoming. Not who you hope to be someday. Not who you want to be if things go right. Who you are, right now, in the process of becoming. Speak it in the present tense. I am someone who makes smart financial decisions. I am someone who shows up consistently. I am someone who creates massive value. This isn't delusion. This isn't lying to yourself. This is identity architecture. You're building the house before you move in. Mental shift 2. From outcome focus to process faith. Here's something that sounds counterintuitive. The more intensely you focus on outcomes, the harder they become to reach. Stay with me. Our culture is obsessed with goals. Vision boards. 5-year plans. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound objectives. And goals are valuable. I'm not dismissing them. But there's a trap inside goal obsession that most people fall into, and it's subtle. When you are outcome-focused to the extreme, you are constantly comparing where you are to where you want to be. And that gap, that constant awareness of the distance between you and your goal, generates a particular kind of anxiety. An anxiety that actually narrows your thinking. Psychologists call it the threat response. When your brain perceives a gap between where you are and where you think you should be, It activates mild threat response circuitry. Your thinking becomes less creative. Your risk tolerance drops. Your decision-making becomes more conservative and fear-driven.
You start grasping.
And grasping, in business, in relationships, in life, repels the very thing you're reaching for. The second mental shift is this: trust the process completely. Release the timeline. This doesn't mean be passive. It doesn't mean stop working. It means doing your absolute best work every single day and releasing your attachment to when the outcome arrives. Think about a farmer. A farmer plants seeds. They do everything right. They prepare the soil. They water. They protect the crop. And then they wait. They don't dig up the seeds every day to check if they're growing. They don't panic because it's been 2 weeks and they can't see anything yet. They trust the process. They know that unseen growth is still growth. The most powerful things in your life are growing underground right now. You can't see them yet. That doesn't mean they're not there. Process faith means showing up every day with full commitment and zero attachment to the timeline. It means measuring your inputs, your effort, your integrity, your consistency, not your outputs. The outputs come. They always come when you stop white-knuckling them. Mental shift 3. From fixed to fluid. There is a mindset concept you've probably heard of, Carol Dweck's work on fixed versus growth mindset. But I want to go deeper than the surface-level explanation most people give. Because most people hear growth mindset and think it means believe you can improve, work hard, learn from failure. And yes, that's part of it. But the deeper layer, the one that actually changes how you experience being alive, is this. A truly fluid mindset means you stop treating your current self as permanent. Most people, even those who say they believe in growth, still have a secret attachment to their current identity. They want to grow, but they also want to be recognized for who they already are. They want to change, but they don't want to lose the version of themselves that feels familiar. They want new results, but they're afraid that becoming the person who gets those results means losing something. This is the hidden resistance that kills most personal growth journeys. The third mental shift is understanding that you are not a fixed entity. You are a process. You are not a noun. You are a verb. You are not a person who has anxiety. You are a person who sometimes experiences anxious thoughts and who is learning to respond to them differently. You are not someone who struggles with money. You are someone who has practiced certain financial patterns and is now practicing new ones. The language seems small. The impact is enormous. When you start treating yourself as fluid, as a process, not a product, you stop defending your limitations. You stop saying that's just how I am as if it's carved in stone. And you start saying that's how I've been, and I'm choosing something different now. That shift, from fixed to fluid, is the difference between someone who grows for a lifetime and someone who plateaus in their 20s and stays there. Because here's the thing. The greatest obstacle to growth is not failure. It's the ego's attachment to the current self. Be willing to let go of who you've been. The person you're becoming is worth it. Mental shift 4. From reaction to creation. Think about how most people spend their days. They wake up. They check their phone. They react to notifications, news, messages, social media. They go to work. They react to emails, to their boss, to the demands of the day. They come home. They react to their partner, their children, their exhaustion. They go to sleep. They set an alarm, and they wake up and do it again. They are living a completely reactive life. And the problem with a reactive life is not that it's busy. The problem is that in a reactive life, someone else is authoring your story. The fourth mental shift is this. Move from reacting to life to creating it. Now I want to be careful here, because this can slip into magical thinking very easily. I'm not talking about manifesting. I'm not talking about the law of attraction in some vague, mystical way. I'm talking about something much more practical. The decisions you make before you're in the room determine the experience you have in the room. Let me give you a concrete example. Most people walk into a difficult conversation, a negotiation, a confrontation, a challenge, and they respond to what's happening. They're reactive. They're on defense. Someone who has made the shift from reaction to creation walks into that same conversation having decided how they're going to show up. They've decided, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to listen before I speak. I'm going to lead with curiosity, not defensiveness. I'm going to look for a win for everyone in this room. They're not reacting to the conversation. They're creating it. And that one distinction, showing up having already made your internal decisions, changes the outcome every single time. This is what elite athletes do. It's what great leaders do. It's what successful entrepreneurs do. They don't just respond to their environment. They decide what environment they're going to create, and then they create it. Now, how do you start doing this? It begins with what I call the morning architecture. Before you touch your phone, before you consume any content, before you react to anything the world is sending you, you spend time, even 15 minutes, deliberately deciding who you are going to be today. What values are you going to embody? What energy are you going to bring? How are you going to respond when things get hard? What is one thing you are going to create today? This is not journaling as therapy. This is not affirmations as wishful thinking. This is identity programming. You are deliberately setting your internal state before the world gets a chance to set it for you. And when you do this consistently, something remarkable starts to happen. You stop being a product of your circumstances. You start being the architect of them. Mental Shift 5. From competition to contribution. The final mental shift is perhaps the most counterintuitive of all. And it's the one that, in my experience, unlocks an entirely different level of abundance in every area of life. It's this. Stop competing with the world. Start contributing to it. Now I know how that sounds. It sounds soft. It sounds idealistic. It sounds like something you'd embroider on a pillow. But stay with me, because this isn't about being nice. This is about understanding how value actually works. Here's the mindset most people operate from, often without realizing it. They see the world as a finite pie. If you get a bigger slice, I get a smaller one. Your success threatens my success. Your win means I'm falling behind. This mindset, the scarcity/competition mindset, puts you in a permanent state of defensive anxiety. You're always measuring yourself against others. You're always watching over your shoulder. You're always protecting what you have instead of building what you want. And the energy that comes from that place, anxious, defensive, comparative energy, does not attract abundance. It repels it. The shift to contribution means asking a completely different question. Not how do I get more, but how do I give more? Not how do I beat them, but how do I serve better? Not what can I take from this situation, but what can I create in this situation? This isn't altruism. This is strategy. Because the people who create the most value in the world, the ones who build things that genuinely help other people, are always rewarded in proportion to the value they create. The universe is not a fixed pie. It's an expanding one. And the fastest way to build your slice is to make the whole pie bigger. When you stop competing and start contributing, your entire orientation shifts. You stop looking at other people as threats. You start seeing them as potential allies, collaborators, clients, champions. You stop trying to take the biggest piece of the pie off the table. You start baking better pies. And people come from everywhere to eat at your table. Part 5. The daily practice. So we've covered the 5 mental shifts. But I want to make this practical. Genuinely, concretely, usably practical. Because I've watched too many people get inspired by ideas and then go back to exactly what they were doing before because nothing in their daily life changed. Inspiration without implementation is just entertainment. So let me give you the actual daily practice, the structure I've developed, and that I've seen work consistently, not just for me, but for countless people who've committed to it. The morning protocol. The first 60 minutes of your day are the most powerful. Your brain is still in a semi-theta state. Your subconscious is accessible. What you feed it in that window sets the frequency for everything that follows. Here's the structure. Minutes 1 to 5. Silence and breathing. No phone. No music. No podcast. Just you and your breath. 5 minutes of deliberate breathing. In for 4 counts. Hold for 4, out for 4. This is not about relaxation. This is about shifting your nervous system from reactive to receptive. You cannot program a computer while it's running a virus scan. You cannot program your mind while it's flooded with cortisol. First, create stillness. Minutes 6 to 15. Identity declaration. This is where you speak to your subconscious directly. Right? Do not just think, actually write the answers to 3 questions. Who am I becoming? Write 3 sentences about your emerging identity. Present tense. Specific. Powerful. What do I believe? Write 3 core beliefs you are installing about yourself, about the world, about what's possible. What am I creating today? Not what you have to do. What you are creating. One specific thing. Minutes 16 to 30. Visualization. Close your eyes. Play the movie. See yourself in vivid detail, operating as the fullest version of who you declared yourself to be. See the decisions, the conversations, the actions, the energy. Not fantasizing, rehearsing. Elite athletes do this. Navy SEALs do this. High performers across every domain do this. You are training your nervous system to recognize success before it arrives in physical reality. Minutes 31 to 60. Move and learn. Physical movement, any kind, activates neuroplasticity. It literally makes your brain more malleable for the rest of the day. And while you move, feed your mind. A podcast.
En audiobook. À lecture.
Something that expands your thinking. 60 minutes. Every morning. Non-negotiable. This is not a productivity hack. This is a daily reprogramming session. Do it for 30 days. Just 30 days. And then tell me your life is the same. The evening audit. Most people end their day by collapsing in front of a screen and consuming content until they fall asleep. Which means the last thing their subconscious processes before going into its most active state, the dream state, is whatever Netflix, social media, or the news pumped into their brain. No wonder so many people wake up feeling like they made no progress overnight. Here's the alternative. The last 10 minutes of your day are an investment in your tomorrow. 3 questions. Written. Every night. Question 1. What did I do today that aligned with who I'm becoming? This is not a question about whether you had a good or bad day. This is a question about identity consistency. Every time you can point to a moment where you acted in alignment with your chosen identity, you're cementing that identity. You're showing your subconscious, this is who I am now. Question 2. Where did I react instead of create? No judgment. No self-criticism. Just awareness. Where did life get to me today? Where did my old programming run the show? Awareness is the first step to change. You can't edit what you can't see. Question 3. What's one intention for tomorrow? Not a to-do list. One intention. One way you're going to show up differently, better, more aligned. Plant that seed in your subconscious tonight. It will be watered while you sleep. The weekly reset. Once a week, Sunday works well for most people. You need a longer, more reflective session. This is your recalibration. An hour. Minimum. Review the week. Not as a performance review, as a pattern review. Where was your energy this week? Where were you living in reaction versus creation? Where did you compromise your identity? And why? What worked? What didn't? What's the one shift that would have the biggest impact next week? This is where real growth is forged. Not in the daily practice alone, but in the weekly reflection that makes the daily practice intelligent. Without reflection, you repeat patterns. With reflection, you evolve. Part 6. The environment factor. We've talked about the mind, the practice, the shifts, but there's a factor that most people dramatically underestimate. Your environment. Jim Rohn said you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's been quoted so many times it's become wallpaper. But I want to give you the full picture. Because it's not just people. It's everything. It's the content you consume, the conversations you have, the spaces you occupy, the music you listen to, the news you watch, the social media feeds you scroll. Every single one of these things is constantly sending signals to your subconscious mind about who you are and what's normal. And your subconscious, remember, does not care about true versus false. It cares about familiar. If you spend 3 hours a day consuming content that depicts the world as dangerous, scarce, and threatening, that becomes your operating reality. If you spend your time around people who complain, who limit, who contract, your self-concept will drift toward contraction. This isn't about cutting toxic people from your life in some dramatic way. This is about curating your environment with the same intentionality that you're bringing to your thoughts. Ask yourself, what does my daily environment say about who I am? If an outsider watched how you spent your time, the content you consumed, the conversations you had, the environments you entered, what self-concept would they say you were reinforcing? Is it the self-concept you want, or the one you're trying to leave behind? Upgrade the environment. Read the books the person you want to become would read. Listen to the conversations that expand rather than contract your thinking. Spend time in spaces, physical and digital, that remind you of your potential rather than your limitations. This is not superficial. This is architecture. You are building an environment that makes it easy to think like the person you're becoming. Part 7. When it gets hard. Empathetic, grounded, powerful. This section is the gut punch. I want to talk to you about something that most people avoid. Because everything I've said so far sounds good in theory. But at some point, and it will happen, you're going to hit a wall. You're going to wake up one morning and the practice will feel hollow. The identity declarations will feel like lies. The visualization will feel like delusion. The gap between who you're trying to become and who you currently are will feel impossibly large. And you're going to want to quit. Not dramatically. Not consciously. You're just going to slowly stop. You'll miss one morning, then 2, then a week. And you'll tell yourself you'll get back to it. But the momentum will be gone. I want to talk to you about that moment. Because that moment is not failure. That moment is the test. Every real transformation has this moment. It's the moment where the old identity makes its final, most powerful push to keep you where you are. Think about it from the subconscious mind's perspective. You've been running the same program for decades. And now you're trying to replace it. Of course it's going to resist. Of course it's going to fight back. That resistance, that dark moment where everything feels pointless, is not evidence that growth isn't working. It is evidence that you're close to a breakthrough. The wall always comes before the door. Let me say that again. The wall always comes before the door. Every time I've hit a wall in my own journey, every time I felt like nothing was working, like I was fooling myself, like I should just go back to the way things were, I've learned to treat that feeling as a signal, not as a stop sign, as a signal that I'm on the edge of something new. And every single time I pushed through the wall, not by suppressing the doubt, not by pretending it wasn't there, but by acknowledging it and choosing to move anyway. There was a door on the other side, always. So when you hit your wall, and you will, I want you to remember this. The old version of you is fighting for its survival. That's all that's happening. It's not the universe telling you to stop. It's not evidence that you're not capable. It's old programming defending its territory. Acknowledge it, feel it, and then take one small action in the direction of who you're becoming. Just one. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Write one sentence in your journal. Take one deep breath. Do one thing that the person you're becoming would do. And then another. And then another. The momentum will return. It always does. We've been on this journey together for over an hour now. And I want you to know, I don't take that lightly. Your time is the one thing you can never get back. And you chose to spend it here, in this space, thinking about these ideas. That tells me something about you. That tells me you're not someone who's content to coast. You're someone who actually wants to grow. And I believe with everything I have that you can. Not just with enough effort or if you're lucky. I mean genuinely, fundamentally, deeply. I believe that the human mind, when properly directed, is capable of things that look like miracles from the outside. What you've learned today. The invisible ceiling of the self-concept. How your identity was built and how it can be rebuilt. The 5 mental shifts that change everything. The daily practice that makes change permanent. The environment that supports transformation. And what to do when the wall comes. This is not theory. This is a map. Your job now is to walk the territory. Not someday. Not when the timing is perfect. Not when you feel ready. No. Right now. Start tonight with the evening audit. Ask yourself the 3 questions. And tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, give yourself 60 minutes. That's your first step. Don't overthink it. Don't complicate it. Just start. Now, before you go, I have one ask. If this video gave you something real, if you found one idea, one shift, one moment that landed for you, I need you to do one thing. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this is what we do here. Every week, sometimes more, we go deep. Not surface level, not clickbait, not motivation that fades in an hour. We dig into the real mechanics of the human mind. We explore what it actually takes to think at a higher level, to live at a higher level, to become the kind of person whose results, whose relationships, whose health, whose impact actually match their potential. This is Think Differently. And if you're watching this, if you made it this far, you're already one of us. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Share this with one person in your life who needs it. Because great ideas multiply when they're shared. And you never know whose life might change because you pass something along. I'll see you in the next one. Keep thinking differently.